A hobby's always pleasurable, it's comfortable, all of that. Art it's not meant to make you comfortable.
You can have this feeling anytime you choose.
Art therapy, I really didn't even know anything about it as a discipline until I was graduating with my first bachelor's degree. Got to talking to people about, okay, well, I have an art degree, what next? What skills do I have? And then did some self-exploration and some research. So I'm a full-time art therapist. I myself work with the University Neuropsychiatric Institute, so I'm the current chapter president of the Utah Art Therapy Association.
I got a master's degree in counseling with a second full language, and my second language is art, which it feels a little funny to say because actually my first language is art.
Art therapists are professionally trained therapists who use artistic processes to help clients improve in whatever issues they're working with. Art therapy is kind of a nice blending of using artistic methods, processes, art history, and combining that with therapy and therapy models.
When someone is engaged in art and the creative process, their whole brain lights up. When they're engaged in a simple verbal dialogue, there's specific parts of the brain that'll light up.
And so that limitation in verbal therapy can be sort of opened up through the artistic process. You modify the process a little bit so that it's appropriate for who you're working with.
In 2015, I started the Art Therapy for Survivors program. And we run every single session in a very similar way. So we start out by setting an intention and sort of bringing everybody into the space together. Then we move into art making, and then we do what's called witness writing, where the participants and the instructors included will write about what they made.
You often see people initially kind of being a little defended or inhibited about the creative process and, oh, I'm not an artist.
I would make something and the whole time I would be like, this doesn't look good, you know, it's supposed to look good.
Walls start to fall down as they realize that this wasn't an environment where they were going to be judged on artistic skill, but that it was just a place to freely express whatever they were feeling or thinking about. And so as they started to engage that way, they'd let more of that symbolic or personal content come forward. And we'd be able to talk to them about, well, what's here? You know, what do you think this is? What's this coming from?
I find it much easier to just sort of intuitively go to whatever I'm drawn to that day and try not to question it too much. And that part of staying with yourself, responding to what's coming up, those skills are really important in terms of healing from trauma.
Art became something that I engaged in to help reflect back to myself, and art was a way that I could process those emotions. Art doesn't get mad at you. Art doesn't fight back. And I can feel sad with it. I can feel frustrated, all of that. It's not a simple joy to engage in art. Where someone is feeling stuck or they're spinning in the same loop, art can kind of disrupt that. It can move them off of a plateau.
One of our participants, she's been doing healing work for probably 28 years, I believe she said, of all different types. She's been very active in terms of looking for things to help her kind of overcome what was a really traumatic part of her life. And when she came to art therapy, she said she was amazed. She kind of thought she had worked out all this stuff, and then she got in the room and all these things started coming up that she didn't even realize. And it really gave her a chance to sort of look at that and work through it.
I was working with a particular client who was really struggling with some domestic violence experiences and a lot of behavioral acting out. The child just could not verbalize and could not really understand her own patterns of behavior. She was able to create different emotional faces out of clay and kind of line them up like pieces and each one took on a symbolic representation for her. And then she was able to take the happy ones with her and leave a sad one for me to hold for her so she could kind of let that go. And as we worked together one-on-one and her creative language unfolded, that really allowed her to find a voice to express the emotions that she felt when she was separated from her mother, who was a primary figure for her.
For a lot of people who are coming in for therapy, there's some sort of a human connection that's been lost, and the trust to be able to be in the same space as someone else and feel like you can be your whole self, it hasn't been there. They haven't had that experience.
Sometimes the safest place that we can get the support we need is with a professional who's there, who maintains the confidentiality, who allows a person to express what they need.
It's been really nice to see from my perspective as the director, the fact that there's still this level of trust between people who come into that space.
What keeps me engaged and in awe with the work that I do as an art therapist is the mystery of what my client is going to come up with. I don't ever cease to be amazed at the answers that the client is able to come up with for themselves using art. It's a moment, I think, of realizing that they're empowered. You know, it's a really, I think, very special thing to be able to witness, and it never gets old.
When I see people engaging in the art processes where they start to open up and they start to explore these topics visually, their energy level changes, I feel like I pick up some of that energy, and it really inspires me to keep going with that. And being able to see that some progress is being made is super rewarding.